welcome to my another video. In this video guys, we will be discussing about we have generated our content from the AI or the ChatGPT model. A lot of time what happens is that once the AI has generated the content for us, there are a lot of mistakes still in that content. So one of the things that we can do is either we can refine our content just as I taught you in the previous videos, or we can edit our content by ourselves also by using different variety of tools. Okay, so the first point about editing we can talk about is that we have already discussed in the previous topic is the tone. Okay, the defining the tone and style of a blog. To adjust the tone, we have to make sure that the content reflects the intended tone of our brand. Okay, it can be formal, casual, or humorous. Okay, if the tone is off, then we can rewrite or tweak our certain phases. Okay, but the best thing we can do is during the time that we are writing our prompt, we should mention what type of uh, tone that we need and what type of style do we need. So that will help the ChatGPT model to generate the content according to our tone and style. The next thing is the consistency. So at times, a lot of times what happens is that when it comes to style in AI chat GPT model, a lot of times we can switch from if our content is of a formal content, at times you will see that a lot of informal things also are added by the AI, so that we don't want to happen. So for that we can make use of tools like Pro Writing Aid. This checks the fact that our content that does not deviate from its real motive. The second thing is improving the readability and the flow. So when it comes to increasing the readability and the flow of an article, the first thing that we need to know is the sentence structure. So in our blog, we always need to have, if we have complex sentences, those sentences should be simplified and it should be easily understandable. At times, AI can generate content that in which the sentence structures are very awkward and there are very unnecessary words that are added that are not required. Then the paragraph structure. We have to ensure that the paragraph structure is logical and the transition is smooth between the paragraphs. Okay, and we can should also rearrange or rephrase our paragraph if we find it necessary. Then the redundancies. At times, AI can produce a lot of content uh, in our blog that is repetitive, that is redundant. So we can also remove that such content. This will make our content more readable and more precise and more SEO friendly. Then comes the grammar and syntax. So the first impression of our blog usually is the use of grammars. If we have used our grammar in a wrong way, readers will not read it and readers will take it as, you know, our disadvantage. Okay, so to solve this ability, we need to make sure that either we proofread our blog, that means that we can run through all the content by ourselves and word by word we can improve our mistake, or we can use tools like Grammarly or Having Editor to make sure that we correct our errors, and these tools can also suggest some improvements in our content. Then is the proper formatting. So when it comes to formatting, at times AI format does not use format headings or bullet points. So we always have to ensure that to make our content easily readable and easily understandable, we should use points and headings. This will help us to make audience realize the difference between different subjects that are mentioned in our blog. This will this will help in the fact that there will be no intermixing of topics. Okay, the next thing that we'll be talking about is adding personal voice or brand personality. So all of these things we have discussed above. The first one is identify your brand voice. Tone we have already discussed. So we need to add signature phrases or vocabulary in our blog to make sure that it matches our brand identity. Then is relating to our audience. So once we are talking to our audience, we need to make sure that We add things like questions, humor, or empathy to create a connection between us and our customers. Okay, we also need to add words like you and we, so that the reader gets to know that we are directly speaking to the reader. Okay, and also, if we are writing about a particular culture or a particular niche, we also need to mention such things in our blog to connect better with our audience. Then is to add an emotional appeal. Okay, because at times what is that, AI generates a lot of text that is factual but does not have emotional depth, so it becomes very monotonous. So what we need to do is that we need to incorporate stories, metaphor, or personal insights in our blogs also. Then obviously we need to add good CTAs that enhances the attractiveness of our blog. The next, so some of the tools that we can use are Pro Writing Aid for maintaining tone, style, and consistency, Grammarly Premium, and Notion AI. Okay. Some other editing techniques that to make our content more reader friendly is use of active voice. Always make sure that you need to make as much active voice in your blog as possible. This makes sentences more clear and more engaging. Okay. For example, our team completed the project is more direct than the project was completed by our team. So decrease the use of passive voice in your content as much as you can. Then you need to break down complex ideas. You need to simplify your language. Avoid jargon or overly complex phrases in your blog. Okay, Hemingway Editor or Pro Writing Aid are some of the tools that you can use in making sure that you avoid jargon and non unnecessary complex phrases in your article. And then explain concepts. For example, if the content involves technical topics, you can break those topics down and then explain to your audience. This will help in the better understanding of those concepts. Next is shorten your sentences. Long sentences and complex sentences can overwhelm the readers a lot. So for that, you need to make sure that you shorten your sentences. That will ensure more clarity and more engagement. Okay, and Hemingway Editor, Pro Writing It are such tools with the help of which you can do this. And the next point is add subheadings and list, because subheadings, as I discussed earlier also, that it becomes for the audience very easy to read your content and navigate through your content if your subheading, bullet points, and numbered list are available in your blogs. Okay, and other thing it does is that it chunks up your information. That means it divides your information into smaller chunks rather than a larger chunk. And if you have your information in a smaller chunk, that makes your content again more readable, more clearer, and more attractive for the SEO perspective of your blog. Next come again the same, improving your formatting and visual appeal. It's the same thing. Avoid white spaces in your blog. Okay, highlight key points with the help of bold or italics. Okay, the other thing is edit for clarity. Always clarify ambiguities. Okay, AI can sometimes produce vague statements. You need to avoid that. Okay, so always make sure whenever you're doing your editing or proofreading by yourself, always make sure that there are no vague statements, and uh, the blog is clear and specific to ensure that uh, the meaning of that particular blog is unmistakable. And the clear motive of a blog is always to make sure them to realize what your brand represents, and that motive should be achieved uh, by your editing and by your blog. Okay, so some of the tools for readability are Hemingway Editor, Grammarly, and Readable. So the first tool about which I'll be talking about is My Grammarly. So the very first thing about Grammarly that you need to know is you have to upload your content. Okay, so you have to go here. So whatever document you have, you can upload it. So once you uploaded it, it will open the content for you. So you can see. So here we have our content. Okay, so it has discussed about our goals. So when it comes to our goals, we have to set our goals. What our domain is, it is for academic audience, business, general, email, casual. is up to you. According to your brand identity, you can use your domain. Then is the intent. Is it to inform people about something, describe about something, convince about something, or telling a story? Then you have to tell about your audience, either it's general, knowledgeable, or expert. Then it's the formality. You want to be, you want it to become informal, formal, or neutral. Okay, so this is the way you can set your goals. So once we are done, this is the overall score of our article. Okay, it will tell everything about, our article, whether it's good, bad, above average, below average. It will tell us everything about our content. So once we get into, the main side, we can see a sidebar over here, and you can see a lot of things that are mentioned to us over here. Okay, so as you can see, the first thing is correctness, then comes the clarity, engagement, delivery, and style guide. Okay, so you can see suggestions regarding everything. So if we want to make sure that our content is right, one thing we can do is navigate through this sidebar, and these are all the mistakes, that grammarly things that we need to correct. Okay, for example, let's come to the you will be equipped part. So it, once we click on that part, you will see it will take us to that particular part by highlighting it with blue. So if we want to dismiss it, we can dismiss it, or if we want to keep it, we can keep it. It is up to us. So but according to this tool, if we dismiss this uh, sentence, you will be equipped, our uh, sentence will get better. Okay, so if we dismiss it, it has dismissed. Okay, the next thing is, it wants us to remove the phrase. Okay, pollution, water waste. It wants us to remove this bird waste. So if we accept it, it will remove it. So by this, what we can do is, all the mistakes that are there in our content, we can improve it. Okay, like if you want to do, it will remove the product for us. We can remove this one as well. And as you will see, as you are removing all of your mistakes, your overall score will increase. And also, now for example, in clarity, you can see it is, some of the part is empty. The more you eliminate your mistakes, you will see the whole bar will get filled with the color that it represents. For example, this is filled with red. This one will ultimately be filled with blue once all the mistakes are corrected. Then we can do this also. Okay, so once we follow all the instructions of this tool, you will see an improved version of our content. Then comes with right with generative AI. So if you want to improve your content, Grammarly can help you improve your content by, looking at your blog and rewriting it. It can also help you identify the gaps, and it also can give you more ideas. So if you want to improve it, you just have to click. Okay, so we can write it. Improve the blog and make it more readable. So once we do that, you will see it will generate another blog for us. If we wanted to identify the gaps in the blog, identify the gaps in the blog and mention them. So if we click on this, so it will do another things for us. So once you keep on, asking Grammarly to, improve your product or your blog, it will keep on asking you more and more questions, and it will keep on asking you about, more and more refinement of your product. Okay, so the other thing is checking for text and plagiarism, that we have always already discussed in the previous video. So guys, the next tool that here we'll be talking about is Pro Writing Aid. Pro Writing Aid is one of the most used tools when it comes to improving our content, like our blog, our article, or whichever content we have created through AI. Okay, it comes with various features, like you can choose your goals. When it comes to goals, it will tell us to select our document type. It can be anything. Mine is casual, so that's why I've chosen general casual. Okay, and these are the things in the sidebar that we have to work upon. So as you can see here in this sidebar, anything that goes into green, that means our content is doing fine in that uh, particular thing. For example, in grammar and spelling we are doing fine with 81%. It should usually be 80% or higher. In style score we need to work on readability grade and on complex paragraphs. So these are three things on which we need to work. So when it comes to the style score, you can come to the left hand side of, once you click on the style score, you can come on the left hand side of the screen, and you can see all the things mentioned in red, they need to be improved. So there are two passive verbs that the writing style check thing has found out that we need to get right. To get it right, you can click on the tick mark. It will resolve your problem, but I don't have the membership right now, so it will not do so. But if you click on this arrow mark, it will take you to the particular place where these verbs are, and you can also click here to suggest rephrases. Okay, and R recycled is another one. You can go here and it will tell you about this mistake also. Okay, then is, it has found one style improvement that we can do. Similarly, we can do the same thing. We can click on resolve and our problem will be resolved. Okay, so anything in red, that means that problem needs to be solved. Okay, then comes our another, let's move to the next problem, that is a readability grade. So the readability grade is, it tells us which of our paragraphs are more difficult to read. Okay, so anything marked in red, that means that our paragraphs, these paragraphs are more difficult to read. Okay, and here you can find some uh, written thing as well, that this paragraph is hard to read, consider revising it. Flash reading is 0.5. So the first thing that we need to realize is that what is flash reading. What is flash reading is, so this is like a, uh, you know a grade scale that helps us to make realize how much difficult a content is to read. So if your rating is between, or your grading is between 0 to 29, that means your content is very difficult to read. If it's between 90 to 100, this means that your content is extremely easy to read. Okay, so mostly you have to try that your content should be between 70 to 100 for blogs. Yeah, so if it is saying that your content is 8.9, that means it is very difficult to read. Okay, so you can go here and see, it will tell you about all the paragraphs that right now this particular tool is finding very difficult to read. Okay, so if you click here, just like in style check thing we did, it takes you to this particular block that is very difficult to read. If you want to resolve it, you can click here, it can resolve for you. Or the one thing you can do is, you can copy and paste this whole paragraph. Okay, then we can go to chat gpt and ask it to you know turn into it turn it into a very easy language to read. Okay, so chat gpt is coming up for us. We can do start. Even once you are writing your prompt or generating content yourself, there you can ask your ChatGPT model to make your content in a particular flash Kincaid grade. Okay, that will make it easier to generate the content, and in ChatGPT itself you can generate a content that is more readable. Okay, so first I'll paste this content here. Okay, and then I'll ask the ChatGPT to turn it into an easier language. turn this SEO so you can ask ChatGPT to make your content turn into a much more easier language, so it has done it for us. Okay, so the other thing that we can, so this was all about, you know, readability. Fine. The next thing that we need to move on to is the complex paragraph part. Okay, so when it comes to the complex paragraph part, it is again the same thing that I discussed in uh, the readability part. Okay, and rest all of the things are blogs are fine. Okay, the passive voice is also fine, glue index is also fine. So usually the glue index should be up to 40%, we have 36%, so that means it's fine. Sentence variety, at times what happens is that AI generates content in which the types of sentence used are extremely monotonous, but in case of our blog it is fine. Okay, and then is a sentence length. This means that whatever our sentence length is provided in this particular block, that is fine. It's not too long and it is being able to describe our content in a very precise and a good manner. Okay, so one thing we can do is what glue words. Okay, so once we do this, okay, so glue words are those words that are also called as sticky words. Okay, so what this glue word does is that it is an essential part of a sentence, and these act as connectives. Fine, so we can also see some of the examples of glue words here. Okay, so some of the examples of glue words you can find in, of, to, for, some, much. So these all are examples of glue words that helps us to make the blog or the article or whatever content we are writing, it helps us, it makes it more readable and more accessible to our audience. Fine, so this was all about pro writing aid. Okay, and then it comes, let's go to this part of uh, pro writing aid. So in this part of pro writing aid, you can see a lot of options that are there in front of us. A lot of these things, as you can see, the rephrase, thesaurus, overused, are mentioned in this sidebar. But there is also this critic feature where it will give you critic regarding your blog. Okay, it will take around 10 to 15 seconds to generate this report, but once it generates a report for us, it will tell us the strengths of our blog, you know, and also the depth of argument, the evidence support, clarity. It will tell us about every single aspect of our blog. Some of the things are blurrier because we don't have the membership, so once we have the membership we can see that too. And there are some potential improvements also that we can do that are mentioned in this chapter critique. Okay, the next thing we can see is the summary. So if you want to see the summary, again it will take 10 to 15 seconds to generate the summary of our blog, but you can go through all the summary, the engagement score, passive voice, sentence variety, everything. Basically if you see the sidebar also, it is like this sidebar that you are seeing. This is also a, a kind of summary of our whole blog. Okay, then comes the style. So the style check also we have discussed before. Okay, the next what comes is the grammar part also we discuss. So there are also, if you click on this part, there are a lot of part of our blogs that we can rephrase it. Everything mentioned in blue here, it is rephrasable. Okay, so if we want to rephrase, you can suggest rephrases and also change your content according to that. Okay, so if you click on this particular part, the rephrase, it will tell you about the possible rephrases. Just like here you can see there are 35 possible rephrases that you can do. Okay, so according to your brand identity and your content, you can also rephrase your content. Fine. The next part that we can talk about is, let's first go out from this part. If a lot of words are overused in your blog, it will tell you about that too. Okay, so here are some of, you can go right here. So you have used have 3 times. There heavily, especially also you have used one time, so you can avoid that. So if you want to avoid it, you can use these tools also. And also by using these tools, you will get to know about the overly used words. All the words that has been repeated also, that also you can see through this particular feature. See, all these are word phrases that are repeated. Okay, these are three word phrases that are used again and again. These are 4 word phrases that are used again and again. Okay, 2 word phrases, sustainable, fashion, eco-friendly, are used again and again. So these are some of the words that are time and time again used again and again in our blog. Echoes are the same thing, that in a sentence, if there are 1 or 2 words that are used uh, in a repetitive way, those are called echoes. In one sentence, if we have used sustainable fashion 2 times, that will be called as an echo word. Okay, so it also tells us about echoes. Next, all of the things here mentioned we have discussed about. So the next thing that pro writing it at times might not give us, help us, is, as we discussed here, that uh, at times we need to also add some words like you, we, to make sure that we connect to our audience. You can see here we need to add words like you and we. So for that, what you can do is you can go to ChatGPT. Okay, so once we go to ChatGPT, we need to upload our content. You can upload it from computer. You can do sustainable fashion too. Okay, we can upload a document and we can tell it add words like you and we to make sure we connect with our audience, and also add some personal stories and insights so that we can engage our target audience. Okay, so here we get this. So once we tell ChatGPT to do it will generate a content for us that will contain personal story insights, and also it will include words like you and we to make sure that our content is more engaging and more uh, SEO accessible to our audience. Okay, so here we have added it, and then what we can do is, there are some human touch. As I told, we have added stories, personal insights. Okay, add some things like you and we. CTAs we already have discussed about. Okay, rest all of the things regarding whether it's grammarly or pro writing it, we have already discussed. So this was all about our video, guys. Hopefully you liked our video. We'll meet in the next video. Thank you very much.